right, everybody, after a brief cut, I am back and I am solo. I am talking about my Week 5 NFL Power Rankings. Yes, I know if you're watching on YouTube, I'm releasing these a little late. I'm sorry, I have a life outside of YouTube, believe it or not. But in all seriousness, I was traveling quite a bit this week. I apologize. I try to get these up on like Tuesday. It's going to be up on a Friday. It's crazy, but here we are. Anyway, so let me go from 10 to 1. With respect to the AFC South, everybody's 2-2 there. I didn't know who to put in. I actually like all the teams, but Tennessee, I love the defense. I love what they did against Atlanta. Jacksonville, I like what they're doing. Let's involve Fournette a little bit more. Jalen Ramsey, stop being such a putz. But if I'm Jacksonville, honestly, I'm trading him. You could trade him to Kansas City possibly for a guy like Fuller and a draft pick. Although, who knows if Kansas City would even want that trade as talented as Ramsey is. They don't need the noise in the clubhouse. Houston, Deshaun Watson, what's not to like about that? The only thing not to like really is the pass blocking. I actually think the run blocking is fine. It's the pass blocking and Deshaun Watson holding the ball a little bit too long. That concerns me. Who else? Indianapolis. Look, they got handled by Oakland last week, but that's going to happen. I like how balanced they are. I like Jacoby Brissett. I like the program that they're building in Indianapolis. So there's some love with the AFC South. All 2-2. I don't know who's better and who's worse, so I didn't include anybody. But let me go, again, 10 to 1. 10, I'm going to put Cleveland in there at 2-2. This is the first time they made my list this year. Bovada has them at plus 2,200 for Super Bowl odds, so I think they're still riding a little bit of that preseason hype. The only reason, they're 10 this week is because Freddie Kitchens finally is giving the ball to Nick Chubb in key situations. I don't know that he is disciplined enough to keep doing that. I think this is the path to Cleveland. If they run that offense through Chubb and that let Mayfield, pick people apart on play action with like Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry, it's going to be a long day for a lot of teams out there. This team has the potential to do some special things this year. I think, they'll go so as Freddie Kitchens and Nick Chubb go, so will the Browns, but they've made my list. They've cracked it. At number 10. Number 9, San Francisco. So the Browns and the San Francisco 49ers play each other this week in a matchup between 9 and 10. An opportunity for one of these teams to move up and one of these teams to move out. San Francisco, Jimmy Garoppolo isn't playing as well as I think anybody would like to see him play. By the way, Bovada has them at plus 2,000, so they're actually favored a little bit more than Cleveland is in terms of odds at this point. Jimmy Garoppolo could do better, but the defensive line for San Francisco is playing fantastic. That helps the teams create turnovers. It helps basically force the quarterbacks into rushed throws. It helps them get pressure with force so that they can drop 7 into coverage. It's tough when you have a really good defensive line, and San Francisco does. Offensively, they control the line of scrimmage. They can run the ball on anybody. I like this team. They're 3-0. Let's see, man. I'm looking forward to this Monday Night Football matchup. Number 8 on my list. This was made before the game last night. Seattle 3-1, 2,800 plus 2,800 according to Bovada. Russell Wilson's awesome. The defense is getting better and better. This receiving core is the best receiving core I think Wilson has had in his tenure. There's nothing not to like about this team. I think that they are a Super Bowl, an NFC representative contender, and you never know what happens when you get to the Super Bowl. So I like what this team is doing. Number 7 on my list, Buffalo. The Bills, 3-1, lost to New England. Who hasn't this year? According to Bovada, plus 4,000. So not a lot of people looking at them in the in the Super Bowl discussion. I like them though because Josh Allen can move the chains, they can run the ball, and their defense is as good as any defense out there in the NFL. Nobody talks about them like they are, but they should be right up there with like the Jacksonvilles. Maybe Chicago's a touch above everybody, but certainly they're as good as Jacksonville, if not better. They're as good as Minnesota, if not better. I would say even New England's probably a touch above as well. Chicago, New England, and everybody else defensively. But Buffalo, man, they're really, really, really good. Don't sleep on them. Josh Allen, if he can't get it going in the passing game, he can get it going in the running game. The only thing that scares me about this team is Josh Allen. Don't fall forward. Don't get popped when you don't have to get popped. Slide, save your body. Number 6 on my list, moved down from number 3, is Dallas. They're at 3-1, according to Bovada, plus 1,100 for Super Bowl odds. Look, I'm not going to overreact to this game. New Orleans outplayed. Their defensive line outplayed Dallas. Dallas's offensive line, I don't think it's a Dak Prescott issue. I don't think it's a Kellen Moore calling plays issue. I think sometimes just a defense is ready to go. It was Sunday Night Football in New Orleans. It's a crazy place to play. Dallas couldn't get first down. Some players were fumbling every now and then. The guys dropped some passes here and there. I'm not going to jump on Dak like everybody else in the world is. I think Dak played fine. I think that New Orleans just played better, and New Orleans beat Dallas. I don't think Dallas let anyone down. I think New Orleans was just ready to go. These are two good teams, and kudos to New Orleans. Dallas, you fall back to number 6 on my list, but I still like you. Number 5 on my list, Green Bay at 3-1. According to Bovada, they are plus 1,600. I'm really curious to see what happens Green Bay versus Dallas in Dallas this week. One of these teams is going to move up, obviously. One of these teams is going to move down, but I think they are both top 10 teams in the league. Aaron Rodgers plays well in Dallas, but what's this new offensive scheme going to look like against this tough Dallas defense? I think Aaron Rodgers is going to throw more, similar to what we saw last week against Philadelphia. When teams play well against the run, you still have Aaron Rodgers, that future Hall of Fame arm, to throw the ball and extend plays. So I like Green Bay, plus 1,600, but again, we're going to find out a lot more this week and see how these teams match up. This Green Bay, number 5, versus Dallas, number 6 on my list. Number 4 on my list, New Orleans. They moved up. They weren't even ranked last week. I thought maybe that Seattle victory was a little bit of a fluke. I'll be honest with everybody out there. Then I watched Dallas, and I watched this hornet's nest of a defensive line just throttle what people say is easily a top 5 offensive line in the league. I think Jerome Smith went out for Dallas earlier in that game, but still, man, this defense was just, man, they were hungry. They came out. Teddy Bridgewater's 2-0, but here's why I put New Orleans up there is because they're doing this. They went into Seattle and beat Seattle. Then they, at home, went against the number 3 team on my list and handled them. There was no fluke about it. New Orleans handled Dallas. Now, that game was kind of up for grabs, literally, with Dak Prescott trying to get a Hail Mary at the end of the game there. But, man, I mean, I was really impressed with New Orleans' defense. They stepped up. I think this defensive unit is stepping up with Drew Brees out. And remember, Drew Brees is going to be back in like a month or something like that. So this team is primed to make another deep playoff run. Kudos to New Orleans. Number 3 on my list at 2-2 is the Philadelphia Eagles. According to Bovada, they are plus 1,200. I can't remember if I said, but Bovada has New Orleans at plus 1,100. Philadelphia at plus 1,200. Look, the 2 losses on their list, one was at Atlanta, not the greatest loss in the world. The other was Detroit, who was previously undefeated until they played Kansas City. And they were razor thin from winning both of those games. Like a half a yard against Atlanta could have pushed them into 1st and goal. I remember they had some opportunities in the Lions game. I think that was a 3-point game as it turned out. Look, Philadelphia is really good. If they had their receiving core for both of those Atlanta and Detroit games, I really think they would be a 4-0 team. Their main Achilles heel at this point is pass defense, but their run defense is so strong and their offense is so strong, I think they can deal with it. We're seeing something similar in Kansas City right now, who, speaking of, is number 2 on my list. If you watched this video last week, Kansas City was a co-number 1 with New England. Today, I am moving them down to number 2 by themselves. According to Bovada, they're at plus 500. My concern, and the reason I didn't make them a tie, and I may as well just say New England's number 1, and I'll get to them in a bit. Kansas City's defense is concerning me. Teams can run on them. If the game is close enough and the teams can wear down the Kansas City defensive line, that's a little concern. Now, I like Spagnuolo as defensive coordinator. I do think this is something that they can help and pick up. And let's be real about this. I mean, the offense at Detroit, credit Detroit with a great game plan. They moved just out my list this week. They cracked it last week, but they moved out thanks to the loss. But Detroit had a great game plan. They played well. They had opportunities in that game. Could have easily pulled that out. But Kansas City, man, it doesn't seem like Mahomes ever got off the bus, and this team still put up 34. Now, I think the offense only had like 3 touchdowns, but this team plays well. Kansas City, it's hard to stop. They're going to be back home this week against Indianapolis, who I also like, as I mentioned before. But plus 500, nothing to shake a stick at. I can't wait for the December matchup against the number 1 team, the New England Patriots, who, according to Bovada, are plus 325. So they are the gambling favorites as well to win the Super Bowl. They can beat you purely playing defense. They can beat you purely playing offense, and they can beat everybody playing both. They play Washington this week. I think they're only going to firm up their status as number 1 this week. Kansas City, well, I'll see what they do against Indianapolis. I would love to see if T.Y. Hilton and Marlon Mack can suit up in that game, make even the odds a little bit there. But for now, Kansas City, because I don't love the defense, I just think as a unit, New England is stronger They're stronger defensively. I like their special teams a little bit more. Kansas City, obviously, I like their offense more than New England's, but New England, I don't think their offense is, I guess, as bad as Kansas City's defense is. So I think it's a very even matchup. Let's just see what happens in December. They're probably going to be number 1 and 2 on my list for the rest of the next couple of months, and I can't wait to see what happens. So there's a week of the NFL power rankings. Like us, like our video, comment who are your top 10. I'd love to see it. I'd love to hear it. Also, subscribe to our channel. That's how we grow. Watch some of our playlists in the upper right-hand side. That is also how we grow. The more we grow, the more content we can put out, and the more, I guess, this refined and fun this network can get. So thanks for everybody. Thanks for your support. Have a great week. Be good.